Your UAE residency visa expired while you were outside the country, and suddenly you realized you might not be able to fly back to Dubai in time. Flights are cancelled, your visa date has passed. So what happens now? Can you still enter the UAE, or is your residency gone? In this video, I will explain what UAE authorities say about this situation, what the rules normally are, and what options you may still have. And if you need professional guidance with UAE visas, residency procedures, or business setup, VisaTop.com provides support through the entire process. In early March 2026, air travel across the region was disrupted due to temporary airspace restrictions. Flights were cancelled, delayed, or rerouted. For travelers, this meant sudden changes to their travel plans. But for UAE residents traveling abroad, these disruptions could create a more serious issue. If returning flights suddenly become unavailable, arriving back in the UAE before your visa expires may no longer be possible. To address this situation, the Federal Authority for Identity, Citizenship, Customs and Port Security introduced a temporary measure. Residents whose residency visas expired while they were outside the UAE during the travel disruptions may still be allowed to return without applying for a new entry permit. This applies to residency visas that expired on or after February 28 in 2026. The temporary return window is expected to remain open until March 31st in 2026. This measure was introduced to support residents whose travel plans were affected by flight disruptions. Another important rule that residents should understand is the 6-month rule. According to UAE immigration regulations, if a resident stays outside the country for more than 180 consecutive days, the residency visa may become invalid even if the printed expiration date has not yet passed. This rule exists because residency visas are intended for people who actually live in the UAE. If you are not sure whether your residency is still valid after staying abroad for several months, it's always better to verify your status before traveling. VisaTop.com can help check your situation and explain what steps you may need to take before returning to the UAE. If you stayed outside the UAE for more than 6 months, returning may require special approval. The UAE immigration system allows residents to apply for a re-entry permit. This request can be submitted through the ICP Smart Services platform while you are outside the UAE. The application usually requires submitting the request from outside the UAE, providing a reason for the extended stay abroad, waiting for approval from immigration authorities. If the permit is approved, the resident is normally allowed to enter the UAE within the permitted time frame. Now let's look at another situation. What happens if your residency visa expires while you are outside the UAE? In this case, you are not considered to be overstaying because you are not physically inside the country. So the daily overstay fine does not normally apply. By the way, we explained everything about overstay rules in the previous video. You can find this at the link in the description. However, the visa itself is no longer valid for entry. When you attempt to return to the UAE, immigration authorities may require additional approval before allowing you to enter. Depending on the situation, your sponsor may need to confirm your sponsorship status or initiate a new visa process. If your UAE residency visa expired while you are outside the country, returning on that expired residency is normally not allowed. In practice, one possible route is to enter the UAE again with a valid visit or tourist entry permit and then start a new residency process from inside the country. But there is an important detail. Before doing that, your previous residency status must be properly cleared in the immigration system. If the old residency record is still active, cancelled incorrectly or linked to an unresolved sponsor issue, entry or the new visa process may become more complicated. It's also important to understand that a new UAE residence visa is generally not processed while the applicant is outside the country. The applicant usually needs to enter the UAE first with a valid entry permit and only then complete the residency procedure. So yes, in some cases you may return on a tourist or visit visa and then apply for a new residency visa, but only if your previous residency status is properly resolved and your entry is legally valid. That's why checking your immigration records before traveling is very important, because every immigration record is different. It's always safer to confirm your status before traveling. This is exactly the type of situation where VisaTop.com can help, reviewing your visa status and advising on the safest way to return to the UAE. The exact process can depend on the type of residency visa you hold. If your visa is sponsored by an employer, immigration authorities may verify that your employment is still active. Your company may need to confirm that they continue to sponsor your visa before entry is allowed. If your residency visa is sponsored by a family member, immigration authorities may verify that the sponsor's residency remains valid. If the sponsorship is still active, returning to the UAE may simply require verification of immigration records. If your visa is connected to a business or investment in the UAE, immigration authorities may verify that the company or investment remains active. If the business is still active, returning may still be possible after verification. Freelance visas issued through UAE free zones may require confirmation from the relevant free zone authority. Immigration officers may verify that the freelance permit and residency remain valid. Some residency categories follow different rules. For example, golden visa holders are generally not subject to the 6 months rule. This means they can remain outside the UAE for extended periods without losing their residency status. As long as the golden visa itself remains valid, the holder can usually return to the UAE even after long periods abroad. However, if the visa itself expires while the holder is abroad, additional procedures may still be required before entry. Because each visa type has different rules and sponsorship structures, getting professional advice can often save the time and avoid complications. VisaTop.com regularly helps residents understand their options and resolve visa issues before traveling. Now let's talk about what may happen when you arrive at the airport. If your residency visa expired while you were outside the UAE, immigration officers will first check your visa record in the system. They will verify your previous residency visa, your sponsor information, and whether your residency status was cancelled or expired. Depending on the situation, immigration may contact your sponsor or employer to confirm your status. In some cases, residents may be asked to wait while immigration authorities verify the information. Something similar actually happened to me once. When I arrived in Dubai after being outside the UAE for several months, immigration officers asked for confirmation from my employer before allowing me to enter the country. I had to wait at the airport while my employer provided the necessary confirmation. Once the approval was received, I was allowed to enter the UAE. If you are unsure about your visa situation, VisaTop.com can help review your case and explain the safest way to return to the UAE. If your visa situation changed while you were abroad, having certain documents ready can help. This may include a valid passport, proof of your previous residency visa, confirmation from your employer or sponsor, records showing cancelled or delayed flights. Travel disruptions can affect even carefully planned trips. When visa timelines and international travel suddenly collide, uncertainty can arise. However, the recent announcement from UAE authorities provides temporary flexibility for residents whose visas expired while they were outside the country during the recent disruptions. If this situation applies to you, check your visa status, stay informed about official announcements, and understand the correct procedures before traveling. And if you need guidance with UAE visas, residency procedures, or business setup, VisaTop.com can help you navigate the process. The team provides 24-hour WhatsApp support, allowing you to receive guidance if you need clarification about your visa status or your return to the UAE.
VisaTop.com